Every year comes Super Bowl Sunday, and it is one of the most anticipated Sundays of the year, where people come together, families, friends, they all gather to watch two of their favorite teams go head to head in the Super Bowl. I just think about how much people prepare in expectation of this night, of this game, of seeing their two favorite teams come together, and it started to make me think about how we can wait in expectation for what God can do in our own lives. And something happened to me this week. I'm gonna give you a little story time that really changed my perspective about this year 2026. And if you've been following the channel, you know that I have grown to become a football fan over the last few years. And I talked about one of my favorite teams last year when I watched The Longest Yard. I talked about the Philadelphia Eagles. I was just going through my normal schedule and routine throughout this week. And on this particular day, it was rough. There was a lot going on that day, and I was just frankly ready for it to be over with. But later that evening, I went to an establishment, and as I turn around, I look. There is Saquon Barkley and the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles. And like I said, I am a huge fan of the Philadelphia Eagles. That is one of my teams along with the Buffalo Bills. I saw Saquon Barkley. I was tripping. I was smiling from ear to ear. I put the Joker to shame. Why so serious? Okay. Because what are the chances that it just felt like a random day, a random night, out of everything that could have happened to me that day, especially that day. It was a rough day that I see Saquon Barkley. And it wasn't just like I saw him in walking or passing. I'm not going to say what the establishment was or where it was in case that is a place that he visits off season. You don't want people bombarding the place, but he was there for like 2 hours straight, and we were all in the same place together. And frankly, I was losing it because it's like, of all the things that I could have thought of that could have happened that day, this is not something I could have planned, something that I could have written. This is just like a God-ordained moment. Even though when I saw him there, I didn't go up to him or speak or anything. We just made eye contact, and that was it. But the fact that I'm in the same building as Saquon Barkley from the Philadelphia Eagles, one of my favorite teams, I did not expect that to happen that evening. As I said, YouTube is one of the things that I do. You all know that I'm an artist as well as other things, but I don't discuss my entire life here on this platform. And so my schedule, it's super busy. Sometimes during the week, I don't really have time to do other extracurricular activities. And I beat up on myself like maybe I'm missing out on this opportunity or meeting these people because I'm not out and about doing these things. But I feel like this week, especially, like, guys, do you see this? What are the chances, especially during Super Bowl Sunday, even though the Eagles didn't make it this year, what are the chances I see one of my favorite football players out and about and have the opportunity to be in the same atmosphere as him? That's why I say I feel like God was just giving this nugget to me to wait in expectation for the year 2026. And I also feel that because I was beating up on myself about not being able to be in all these places at once because I feel like I'm missing out on opportunities, God showed me that even in the mundane tasks, those routine tasks, those repetitive things that you do during the week, God can show up in those and shake everything up. So I'm speaking to you as encouraged. What was even crazier is that day I just finished reading in the book of Ruth, which I think ties into this so much because if you know the story of Ruth, it started with a man named Elimelech. He had a wife named Naomi. They had 2 sons. Where they were living in Judah, there was a great famine, so they had to move. Well, actually, I take that back. They did not have to move in the midst of that famine. They chose to move without consulting God to a pagan land, a pagan nation, which is the land of Moab. Moabites, there's not a lot of good stuff going on. A lot of immorality being conducted. And Elimelech's sons take on 2 Moabite women as their wives. And as time passes on, Elimelech passes away and his 2 sons passes away, which leaves Naomi and her 2 daughter-in-law, Orpah and Ruth, without husbands and without son. And you know, back then, for women to be alone, without a father, without a husband, without sons, they did not have a means to take care of themselves. So basically they had to rely on that village to take care of them. And so this was extremely hard on Naomi. So she was like, hey, I heard things got better back in Judah. I'm going to go back to my homeland and try and live there. Naomi is like, please, girls, just go back to Moab, find yourself some husbands, and leave all this behind, because I'm sorry, I have nothing left for you. Where you go with me and Judah, there's going to be nothing there for you. And Orpah, she's like, okay, deuces. And so she leaves Naomi, but Ruth clings to Naomi during this difficult time. She just lost her husband. She lost her father-in-law. There's a lot of despair going on. But Ruth is like, Naomi, your God will be my God. Your land will be my land. She was taken. I mean, for her to say that, Ruth was a Moabitess living in an immoral town. Immorality was all that she knew. But yet she's like, I'm going to choose the one true and living God. I'm going to choose him to be my God and live in this land I've never lived before. Leave my parents, my family behind to go and follow you. And I'm going to trust God in the midst of. They go back to Judah. So Ruth goes out to work in the field in Judah to go and support her and Naomi. And so this young man, Boaz, takes notice of her because he's actually the owner of this land. And so he's like, who is that? One of the dudes working in the field gives him the rundown of how faithful Ruth has been, how she left everything to go and be and work with Naomi and all that stuff. So Boaz takes a liking unto her. Long story short, he ends up being a close relative to Elimelech, which is Naomi's husband who passed away. And so there's a term, kinsman redeemer. Boaz would have been Ruth's kinsman redeemer. It's just like a system that was set up in God's law. If your brother passed away, that you would take his wife to be your wife to keep his family name going on. They end up getting married, and it was a beautiful story. But I said all that to say is that Ruth was just found being faithful, doing mundane tasks. She was going in the field, just gleaning whatever she could, gleaning the leftovers from the harvesters. And she found a husband, or a husband found her there working in the field, found her faithful. All she was doing that day was going out to get some food to help her and her mother-in-law. And so I said all that to say is that you can expect God to meet you in mundane moments. Like just how I didn't expect anything to come of this day of the week where I saw Saquon Barkley and the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles on this one random day. But God met me in one of my mundane moments, in one of my normal everyday tasks. And the same thing happened with, if you read Genesis chapter 24, of how Rebecca meets Isaac. She was found faithful. Every single day, the women went out to the well to gather water. That's all she was going to do. Her normal mundane task. It was a servant. One of Abraham's servants went out looking for a wife, and the servant went out and prayed. He said, Lord, please make my journey prosperous. Help me to find a wife for my master's son, which is Isaac. And as he was praying, it says like, as he was praying to Lord about this, Rebecca came out and was walking. And she was just coming out to fill the water jugs like she did every single day with repetition. Yet she was found faithful and ended up with a whole husband. So all I'm just saying is just find encouragement, or just wait in expectation for what God is able to do. No matter what the day may look like, no matter what the year may look like. I don't care if it's December 30th or December 31st at 11:59. Expect God to show up before the end of the year is all I'm saying, because anything can happen in just an instance where God meets you in a mundane moment in your life. And so that's encouragement to me for the rest of this year, that just expect God to show up in 2026. And that's an encouragement to you to expect God to show up in 2026, because boom, how was it a normal Monday? A normal Monday. A mundane Monday, it felt like. I saw Saquon Barkley. We were in an environment for like 2 hours straight, along with the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles. My day started off so mundane. Woke up, brushed my teeth, got out of bed, brushed you know what I mean, in the correct order. Put on my clothes. It was a normal day. It wasn't even the day didn't even start off that great. But God showed up in the mundane. Oh my gosh. Yeah, are you Patriots or Team Seahawks? But anyway, that was just cool. That happened to me. Like, what are the, tell me. What are the chances I'm in the same building environment as Saquon Barkley and the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles for 2 hours during the week of Super Bowl Sunday, even though they're not at the Super Bowl, but still an NFL star I saw the week of the Super Bowl. Come on now. If that ain't God, I don't know what is. And that's my favorite team. Like, I feel like I could have saw anybody that day. Anybody. But someone that meant something to me on that day, it was already a rough day. So it just was a wake-up call. And especially since I was beating up on myself about not being able to be in all these different places and be exposed to these different opportunities. God said, I can bring the opportunity to you. Have you forgotten who I am? I'm God, creator of the universe. I can bring anybody to you. I can bring anybody to you at any moment. That person that needs to find you, I can bring them to you. It's a word. It's a word for 2026. Let me know who you're rooting for Super Bowl 60. Let me know. Seahawks or Patriots. Put it down below. But I pray this word finds you well and wait in expectation for what God is going to do in 2026. Yeah.